So with religion and spirituality, we're all trying to get to the same thing. That deep knowing that you are not alone and that you are connected to everything that happens around you. And one of the best ways to feel that is just to quietly sit in silence, and to do that in a group where everybody else is quietly sitting in silence. It's a really interesting space, and it's so hard to talk about, and I suppose that's why we do it in silence. There's a kind of deep knowing and a deep feeling and a deep sense that you get from quieting your own mind and quieting all these questions and conversations, and it's something that you feel more so than you speak or think.
The central part of Friends is meeting for worship. That's the most visible activity of Friends. And there are long established customs about the way a meeting for worship is conducted.
People say, isn't that nice? Isn't that peaceful going to meeting? You know, often really no. Sometimes I go into a meeting and I'm just really, I'm not saying that I'm sorting through my dramas in my head then, I'm actually putting the dramas away and things come to me. And maybe I only notice at the end as I'm walking out the door, but there's a point of clarity. Some would say that we go in to connect with God. For other people, that language is not so comfortable, but for me, I genuinely believe that in that space, we can connect to something immanent in all of us and transcendent beyond this material thing.
You don't realise that you need it, but every Sunday or Wednesday, whenever you meet a group of friends and you sit in silence and you just let the Spirit take over you, it is just beautiful. And it feels like weight is being lifted off of you. It's kind of hard to explain, but it just feels like you come in, if you do come in with baggage or what feels like the world's about to end, being with friends makes you have hope.
Meeting for worship is a time where we sit and we wait expectantly. But what happens to you in a meeting for worship kind of depends on you. Nothing is supposed to happen. There's no magic that happens in a meeting, and there's no special secret stuff that happens in a meeting. What you see is what you get.
Meeting for worship, you know, I find it hard sometimes. I find it really hard, and I feel like a bad Quaker for saying that. I know it's important for me to be still and to be quiet, and it feels hard. I'm not somebody who, I hear people talking about feeling really refreshed after meeting for worship, and that's rarely my experience. Sometimes I spend the whole time going, come on, do it right, do it right, do it right. I really value gatherings where there are people who are really deeply grounded holding the space. I find I'm pretty sensitive to the people around me, and that really impacts my experience. And it feels hard to talk about because it's so intangible.
My Quaker spiritual experience has mostly about becoming comfortable in the silence. I have been taught things directly by how friends minister in our silent worship, but I feel I am more taught by the silence. It's an amazing gift in the modern world, particularly in the smartphone era. I was a Quaker before smartphones, but life has gotten way more maddening since smartphones and social media. So to go into meeting and know that my phone is turned off and that I can be silent and sit there with myself, with the Spirit, with the divine, and just be and let words, images, the Spirit settle within me has been amazing. Like, there are days when it's hard and I'm restless and fidgety and, you know, want to be looking at the clock, but want to be a good Quaker and I'm disciplined, so I sit there. You know, we're accustomed to boredom as adults, we can do that. But there have been other times when it felt kind of ecstatic, like this is all that I needed. It's not ecstatic very often, but just often enough to feel like this is what those early Quakers were looking for, that moment where you feel like you are connected to something bigger, vaster, and can see the truths in that. More often it just feels like a coming home, being able to relax into it. Thank goodness for the silence. I'm just going to settle into that. And weeks which have been chaotic and maddening, where I feel like the pieces can come together and maybe I get to notice retrospectively what's been happening for me, or be able to quieten my inner voice so I can notice what may have happened for the people around me, or I'm sent away for meeting with a concern for a friend that I might follow up and do that. Because often in the busyness of the world, those things get lost. So, yeah, I think that's really what the Spirit means to me.
I really liked that sense of questioning. And for me, that had been a real challenge in the Catholic Church, was that I questioned everything. And Quakers are really big on questioning. I think I said to you the other day, I'd read this thing recently about how a Quaker saying going to meeting it's where you go to have your answers questioned. And I really connect with that idea. So I started learning this stuff and thinking, yep, that's me, and came to meeting. And I was really lucky. My first meeting was a really gathered meeting. They're not always. And a gathered meeting is one, we call it, where you just feel there's a real presence. Some would call that light is really strong. For me, it felt like connecting to a grid. It was just, oh yes, this is it. And it was really whole and it was buzzing, but it was also really calming and present. And I sat there for this hour. I think a few people gave ministry. That's what we call it, if you feel moved to stand up and speak into the silence. And I just went, yeah, that's me.
Initially, I was curious and just try to experience, understand what's going on. And over several years, I get to understand silent worship, basically. Then within that, there is a vocal testimony. And silent meeting is, you can say it's a bit like meditation. But the idea is you can do like silent worship by yourself. But group worship, silent group worship, is supposed to have different effect. And most Quaker members value this.
Silence is great. I don't do it as often, but when I do get the chance and go to meeting, it is always beautiful. And I think that's why I stay. It's a bit of a weird thing to say, but that's why I continue being active, and that's why I want to share my Quaker experience, or to share the time with other people, because it makes me feel good, but also I want other people to feel what I feel.
My spirituality is kind of more accessible in some ways. kind of in acting out my faith or in doing service. And so I think gathering is one of those things where, to me, the Quaker decision making and Quaker business of kind of gathering and listening deeply, and those processes are, they're stunning. And being able to facilitate a group to kind of to come together and to listen and to find that truth, I find so powerful when it's done well. And I do find that easier than in meeting for worship.
There's a really beautiful description I read once of a Quaker saying that they go into meeting with their basket of washing and they hang it all up to flap in the breeze, and then at the end of their meeting, so they can just peg all their cares out, and then at the end of meeting they bring their washing in. There it is, all fine. That one's fine. Oh, that one needs to go again. And I think there's a lovely sense that you come out of meeting going, I've sorted through some stuff.